Hey everybody, I'm Greg Soule, and this is Why Am I, a podcast where I talk to interesting people and try and trace a path to where they find themselves today. My guest this go around is Fatal1ty. So for those of you on the scene in the early 2000s, this kid's name is likely one you recognize. With 6 years as one of the first professional gamers, he scored 12 world titles in every major first-person shooter at the time. No small feat. I think you understand that. So imagine the pressure of competing on the world stage at age 19, knowing that a single failure could mean the end of your career that you started at about 12 years old while hustling pool for arcade quarters. So the need to compete with relentless practice makes this kid unstoppable. I hope you enjoy this chat with Fatal1ty. Fatal1ty, thanks for joining me on the Why Am I podcast today.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, dude, I feel like this is a long time in the making. I was probably still a teenager. I happened to be at QuakeCon, and I sent this in my email story to you and my pitch why you should come and talk to me, this weird bald old guy. And we were at QuakeCon, my friend and I. I think it was right after, no, I can't remember. It was right after school let out or something like that, like for the summer, up there in Dallas. And so we get up there, we're checking everything out. We see that there's a Quake 3 tournament going on. I was a huge Quake 3 fan at the time. And we slip under the ropes, and we're sitting next to this kid and watching him just wreck everybody. And eventually they kick us out. But later I found out it was this kid named Fatal1ty. Then all of a sudden there's like this hardware out everywhere with his name. I was like, man, I just sat next to that kid. He was pretty dope. And for some reason you popped in my head, dude, and I looked you up, and here you are. And so the one question I ask everybody, that guy just gave me a little taste of it right there. But who are you?
Well, I mean, I guess the Cliff Note version. I'm an esports pioneer. I started playing games when it first came available on the internet. Before that, I was playing games at Blockbuster or Mortal Kombat. Hence, I see the Pizza Hut in your background. So it's kind of a funny story, but as a kid, my dad would take me to Pizza Hut, and then across the street, we had this place called Funhouse Pizza. But across the street, they had arcade machines. And so I used to go over there and play and eat pizza and all that stuff. But Mortal Kombat 1 came out, and I heard a Fatal1ty behind me. And so I was like, man, like that is crazy. Like that was the coolest thing I've ever heard or seen or anything in a video game ever in my life. And so then I got super addicted to playing Mortal Kombat, going to Funhouse Pizza as much as I ever could. Always asked my dad for quarters and going and playing there. I was pretty nuts about playing the game in a sense, like my friends would invite me to go play pool. They would basically hustle me to go play pool. Like I would, we'd go and challenge people for money, and we would take the money that we'd win from playing pool to go to 7-Eleven to play more Mortal Kombat. And so everything was based around playing Mortal Kombat as a teenager, as like a 12, 13-year-old kid. And that's actually where I got my name from. Fatal1ty is from this kind of like lifestyle I lived as a young teenager. And then basically hopping on the line, started playing tournaments. And I realized that you can practice and be really good at video games. Eventually it evolved to going to professional tournaments. And then I ended up becoming the number one player in the world. And so that was my journey as kind of like the young Jonathan that turned into Fatal1ty, at a very young age. And then I kind of, I took the kind of the bull by the horns and showed the world that you can make a living playing video games.
That's kind of wild, dude. I've never met another 12-year-old that was hustling people in pool. Like, what gave you the stones to do that, dude?
Well, I was really good. So
yeah, dude. I'm assuming you weren't just hustling other 12-year-olds though, right?
No, I was playing like full grown men.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, like, I was really good. Like, I'd play guys like $2 a game or $5 a game, and I was willing to risk my own money. But like, I knew how good I was, so I won a lot. And then my friends were like, hey, we'd like to, they told my dad, I was like, hey, we'd like to take your son to this pool hall down the street, and we'll spot him. So basically, they'll take on all the risk, and I just have to perform. And so. So I went there. I think we won like $40 at this pool hall one night, And then we went to the 7-Eleven. We just played Mortal Kombat all night. We found the one 7-Eleven that only cost a quarter to play the game, and replay was only a quarter. So you had to pay the 50 cents to get in, the quarter, the whole thing. So we definitely knew how to find the bang for the buck, and that's what we did. We loved it.
That's wild. That's wild. Did that give you a feeling of like importance where these people are like, "Hey, can we steal your son and like go do this thing with him?" Like, did it kind of elevate you or make you just feel special in a way that anything else had before?
Well, the thing is, like, my whole life I've always played sports,
Yeah.
and you always want to be the guy that hits the home run or catches the touchdown pass or whatever, right? That's just like your childhood dreams. And so, playing pool, I had this charm about, I mean, obviously a grown man thinks he's going to be a 12-year-old, right?
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of like, kind of like, believe it or not kind of thing. And then so people would pay to find out. And so, and then we had a lot of fun. Like people enjoyed the show kind of, and they enjoyed like, wow, this is really interesting. And people would watch me play pool at a very young age. And it was really funny because like, everyone knows we're gambling for some money. And so you get like spectators that come over and start watching and so forth. And but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, the guys I was hanging out with were just like, they were like high school kids. Like they were like they were like seniors in high school. I was like 12. So I mean, they're like 18, 19 years old. I'm 12, and they would just take me around and we'd have so much fun together. So I grew up at a very fast rate at a young age. I all my friends were much older than me. And we just got along. We laughed a lot, and we had a good time.
Dang, did you feel something I'm noticing here is like a definite sense of confidence. So, did it even feel like gambling to you or you were just so sure in your abilities like this isn't even gambling. I'm just going to go and it almost sounded like a circus performer, like I'm going to go and do my trapeze act or something.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think like through my lifetime of gambling when I was a young kid, like I remember like losing 3 times. And so other than that, I won, you know, I don't know, 80 times. I don't know, like a lot more than I ever lost. So, but also when you're playing with your friend's money, when I have no risk. So all I have to do is perform. And so, but yeah, when I used to gamble, I mean, yeah, I had $20 in my pocket, play a guy $2 a game, you know, I leave with $10, I leave with $12, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden I went from $20 to $32, and some days I'd leave the pool hall and I have $80 in my pocket. I mean, I was 12 years old. I mean,
That's pretty dope. Yeah,
yeah,
those are the 80s, right?
yeah, this is like no, this was the early 90s.
Early 90s.
Yeah, yeah. And so, but yeah, it was a lot of fun, good times. And, you know, I went and played pool actually recently, with a friend of mine, and we kind of like just tell all these old stories and so forth, and it's just kind of fun. I mean, it's um it was a joy of my youth before I went into professional gaming.
That's cool. That's cool. So, you've been competing for like as long as you can remember then. Like sports as a kid, obviously, misadventures in pool halls and things like that to translated straight over to video games. Because has there ever been a time where you haven't been like, are you still competing now? Like, do you find ways to
Yeah,
compete in your life?
I compete all the time. It's just I love it, and I can't get enough of it. And I'm pretty good at like light shit talking, um, and so, but like it's like fun. Like I
Yeah,
do it in a charming way, and so that's kind of hanging with my friends, playing golf, and so forth. Um, like I after professional gaming, I was like, hey, I want to play more golf. So I started shooting in the 70s when I was like, my late 20s. And then recently, I just won the club championship at my golf club. And so this is the gross division, not the net, not the handicap thing. This is like straight up man versus man golf. Okay. And so I actually beat the former number one Ohio State golfer. And so I made it to the top 1% in the world right now for golf. So like my, my hand-eye coordination, all that stuff, but like I love competing. Like, so I love training, I love practicing. And so I just do it all the time. I mean, if you want to play backgammon right now, I'll play backgammon with you. If you want to go, do anything competitive, like I'm in.
I've found that about myself too. Well, I don't know if this is exactly the same way for you, but I love to compete. And there was a good chunk of my life where I wasn't competing. And then once I found something to compete in, I was like, oh, yeah, this is it. I remember now. But I've also always turned everything into a competition. Like, I can't help myself. Even if it's just with me, like in my brain quietly, I'll figure out how to gamify everything. And I'm not sure why I'm wired that way. But I've noticed most of the people that I've met that are very successful do similar sort of things. Like, they constantly competing, constantly challenging themselves in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like it's a way to keep your brain young and constantly trying to make sure that there's no cobwebs up there. So you're just trying to like constantly turn the wheel. But I love it. I play ice hockey as well, like twice a week, and so I'm playing mat and games all the time. So I love the hustle, and it's not just sitting behind a computer screen. It's I do the full thing.
All right. How old are you?
Actually, I'm 44 now.
Brother, me too. So you got them good genes if you're out there playing hockey right now at 44.
Yeah, I love sports. It was always my passion to play more serious and more competitively and train more and practice more. But unfortunately, my life didn't get the full opportunity. The full opportunity means like travel with the team, train the whole. Like I like the whole thing. So whenever I do something, I want to go 1,000%. And with esports and with gaming, I saw that I could give it 1,000% because you could train from home. You don't have to go to you don't have to ask your parents like, hey, can you drive me to this venue? Oh, can you get me into this camp? Can you get me with this team? Can I travel with this team? Like all these like hurdles for paying to get there. The only thing I needed was a computer, so we had to invest in the computer. And then once you have the computer and internet, you can play online as much as you want and train as much as you want. And so that was my like, epiphany with esports in general in the early 90s is that, wow, I could play against the best players in the world from home. Whereas, like, if I want to be the best tennis player in the world, the best tennis player in the world is not in my town. I can't train with him. If I want to be the best skier, snowboarder, like, well, Kansas City doesn't have any mountains, so it'd be kind of hard to skate and snowboard there, right? So, like, everything in life, I feel like there's opportunity that is kind of like near you, and that kind of like shapes how you become.
Mm. So you said it almost sounded like you had a little bit of a regret there that you didn't do the full opportunity with sports. Do you feel like you kind of missed out on like being able to perform a sport at a high level like that?
Well, just like, it comes down to like resources, like, how much time and money does your family have to dedicate to a thing. And so for me, I like the hustle. I like being out of the air. I like, that's why I play ice hockey, just so I can lose my breath. But yeah, it was just something like, as a kid, I really liked. Billiards was one of those sports that I actually did get an opportunity to do at a pretty high level. But unfortunately, my parents got divorced right when the qualifier was coming up. Or not really the qualifier, but I already won the qualifier for Missouri. And so then it was to go to Las Vegas to compete for 10 grand. And I was like 12, 13 years old. And so I had a manager that would pick me up and travel and train with me and so forth. And I was really serious about pool. So playing the 1v1 kind of like pool mentality was actually, that was my best sport by far. But I had a lot of opportunities to do it because my dad had a pool hall. So I was able to train as much as I want. We had a pool table at home. So like I had a lot of like easy access to, mastering a craft.
Mm. Did you feel like that kind of connected to your dad? Like you and your dad had like this thing you bonded over, like pool sort of thing?
My dad's a very competitive guy, like in the sense like he likes competing too, and he also has this charm. So like even if you lose to him, like oh, okay, like it wasn't that bad because he's a nice guy, So my goal my whole life was like if I can beat my dad at anything, I'm pretty good. And so that was like just my bare minimum. Like just I got to beat this guy. And so, yeah, my dad was a very competitive guy. He loves playing a lot of sports, very good at kind of everything. And so my goal was always to be better than him. And then eventually down the road, like, I realized being very good at a lot of things is not the way to go. Um, you really need to be the best at one thing. And so that's when esports like took off for me. It was like, you know what? I need to remove all these distractions. No more hockey, no more pool, no more tennis, no more golf, no more nothing. And so I would remove all my restraints of giving my focus and energy to esports. And so that was kind of like, you saw me in my prime of playing Quake and these other games. And so that was like a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice to be that good at that game.
I'm curious though. It's like to have that much single-minded focus on something. Something had to really drive you, especially that young. I mean, you don't really know who you are or necessarily who you're gonna become and all that stuff. It just makes me wonder, like, why you would forgo everything and decide that you needed to focus and like I need to, like isolate myself from all these other things. I need to focus, and I'm gonna be like the world's best at this thing. Like I don't know too many. I literally know nobody that has done it to this level, and so I'm just curious, like, what is it inside you that drives you to do that? Like, was there
So
something
there,
specific, or is it just how you're baked, man?
so there's like an epiphany moment. I was actually playing golf with my dad, and then um, what I realized was, how do I say this? There was a moment where esports was just like a hobby. Okay. You'd make, you get internet free for a year. You get a modem for a prize. The biggest prize ever that was given out during the early days of esports was the Ferrari, the one that Thresh won. And so for me, like, I was like, wow, like, yeah, this guy won the ultimate prize. He won a freaking Ferrari. Like, that's sick. But, as I kept watching all these tournaments around the world for Quake, I was like, well, is anyone really even making like full time money from this? Like, is anyone actually making a full career out of this? And I was like, I don't think anyone's making a full time living off this. And so when year 2000 came up, they announced that they're going to give away over 100,000 over the tournament winnings. And I was like, wow, this is nuts. Like, maybe this is the first time that you can actually make a full career out of just winning. And so I was kind of like blown away by that, like in the sense like there's so much money to be won. And then obviously you can always get the sponsors and all that stuff and get all that jazz. But that was kind of like a moment where I was like, you know what? I think there's a way to become a professional gamer and actually live 100% off your earnings and, the other business around it. And so I basically went on an adventure to find out. And basically, I started my career in 1999, going to the first tournament in Dallas, Texas it's called Frag 3 at the time. I won $4,000 that weekend playing a video game. I was like, wow, that's cool. Like, this is not my full-time job. Like, this is great. I'm so excited about winning 4 grand. But I'm like, this is always gonna be a side hustle. That's what I like, But when they announced all the prize money in 2000, I was like, holy crap, this is different. This could be the moment to really shine and to make a statement that you can make a living playing video games. So I went on the adventure of like showing the world, hey, you can make a full-time living from playing video games. And then I did it for a year, did it for 2 years, did it for three, did it 4. And I was like, and like, I had a lot of people like saying that this will never happen, this will never work out, and so forth. But I was doing it. And then I got MTV to do a feature on me. And then I launched my business making these really big mouse pads. I created the first large oversized mouse pad. And so I sold it on my website, fatality.com. And I was making 5 to 10 grand a month just selling mouse pads. And it was the craziest thing ever. And then I also got a sponsorship that paid me $30,000 a year. Then I got another sponsorship for 30,000 a year, just writing a blog monthly on a website. And so I was like, the first year, I think I made like 160,000 or something like that.
That's wild.
I was like 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is nuts. And so that was kind of like epiphany. And then just like, I think the people fueled me, like just kind of the haters and the doubters and so forth. It really, I read it, I read the messages, I read the forums, I read like what people say. And so then I'm just like, every day I'm gonna prove all these people wrong. They just pissed me off so much. Like, I'm gonna show the world you can make a living playing video games. And so I barnstormed the world. I went to China, Germany, South Africa, Australia, Sweden, Finland, like, all over South America, North America, just everywhere. And so I basically would go around the world showing the world you could do this. And then eventually, obviously I did it.
Yeah. I'm assuming at first it was still kind of scratching that itch of, hey, I'm hustling people, I'm getting money so that I can play Mortal Kombat. But then it transitioned into a job. Like, do you remember when that happened? Like, oh, this is just my job. This is me. Like your
Um, well,
training
definitely,
regimen.
definitely in the year 2000, it was my job.
Yeah.
In
Did it feel
99,
like a job though?
I would say half. I found a way to trick my mind. Um, so it was like half fun, half work. And the biggest secret was just surrounding myself with people I like.
Hmm.
And so that was like the biggest hack of all of it. And then basically, you just train 8 hours a day. You're trying to work on your craft and your skill, and you're trying to, you're trying to beat, the other best players in the world. So there's a lot of stress there, I guess. My dad always would say there's always someone training harder. And then I would tell my dad, it's like, it is impossible. I am training more than everyone. And so I think, my practice regimen and so forth, um, really set the standard for current day professional gamers.
Dang, that's wild. It makes me wonder too. You mentioned you had people, you'd surround yourself with people. Because I was thinking a lot of your pursuits have been one-on-one, and you were even talking about how you didn't have to travel. You could just do all of your training from home, right? Like Mortal Kombat, that's a solo. A lot of your stuff, your first person shooter stuff, it was 1v1. Your pool, it's one-on-one, right? So it's like, it sounds like a lot of your stuff is solo. So it's like how do you reintroduce people? Something COVID taught me is that I need humans. I didn't think I did. I was like pretty insulated and isolated, or insular, I guess. I thought I was an island unto my own until that hit, and then I couldn't see other people, and I realized how much I needed them. So, is that you? Do you require people as well? Because I'm thinking team sports. You did a lot of team sports, so that camaraderie and stuff. You don't really get that feedback in all this 1v1 stuff you do.
Well, in 1v1, I mean, you have different people you train with. And so the people I would train with would be just different people. Some people are very strategic. Some people are very offensive. Some people are very defensive. Some people are crazy. Like, so like I would invite these people to train with me. And, at my boot camps, I mean, there's like 6 people at my boot camp. They're all individual players, but you're like hanging out with 6 dudes that want to be the best individual players in the world. And so you have camaraderie there. But not to sell myself short, like I was a world champion at team play as well. So I have one world championship in Quake 3, 4v4 team deathmatch with Clan Capital. And we had CZM, Ouija, and Spook on the team. And we had a blast. For 2 years, we were undefeated online and obviously on LAN. And I love playing with those guys. Like I really miss playing with those guys a lot all the time because we had such good teamwork and such like we were all wanted to win so bad. There just wasn't a whole lot of money in team play back then.
Mm.
So, 1v1 is where all the money was. So you just have to go play 1v1. And so, but I did both at the same time. But, the team play was always like the on the back burner because there's just so much money in 1v1.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like tennis. All the singles is where the money's at. They play doubles sometimes too, but you're not getting $1 million payouts on that stuff.
Yeah.
I saw you stream on Twitch. You do all the gamer things that people would anticipate. But what I saw was, man, it wasn't that long ago. You had Machiavelli over at your house.
Yeah.
And you guys were playing Quake Live. And what's crazy is like I watched all 4 hours of that, like almost consecutively. And I was just thoroughly enjoying myself. One is because it took me back to those Quake days. Like I remember when I was in high school, a friend of mine had some college friends when we went over their dorm room, and they had gotten a leaked version of Quake 3, like an early version, where there was just like a couple of maps, not all the textures were there, and they were playing, and I was like, oh my God, like I cannot wait to play this. It was blowing my mind, right? And so watching you guys play, just even like the sounds of you moving around in the menu and weapons, like just all those little sounds, like it was just lighting up my brain. It was just like taking me back to that place. And I was like, yeah, dude, this is it. Because I remember the LAN parties. Like you had your friend over and you were playing and you were just nonstop talking shit to each other and just hanging out. I was like, God, man, I genuinely miss that level of camaraderie I used to get. Because people think of like video gamers as like these incels, these isolated people, and it's not the case, man. It brought me together with people.
Yeah, Quake was amazing. It is so cool to hear your story of like, kind of the nostalgia of like hearing the sounds. Like it is like, or even when I hear the freaking just like scrolling through the menu, like
Yes.
ding, 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 or whatever, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is the sound. Like, it brings back a lot of good memories, and the LAN parties were literally the best. I mean, it's so crazy, like to think like people won't take their computer anywhere anymore these days. But like, LAN parties were the purest moment of playing video games, I think, ever. I mean, just going to a LAN party and bring your computer there and hang with all the guys, getting pizza and a Mountain Dew or whatever, and just kind of like hanging out, Dr. Pepper, whatever you want. And so, oh, you have to go to your restaurant to find out what we can, what else. But,
Yeah.
yeah, so we, just the LAN parties were the best. I mean, I used to take my computer everywhere in the world. I mean, I was nuts. Like, I mean, I would literally take on the airplane. I would have a small ATX form factor, and it'll still fit a full ATX motherboard in there. But I would have it on my shoulder, and I would travel the world with my computer. And then I would just, whenever I got to whatever country, I remember I was in France, and I was like, oh, I don't have, I go to the LAN internet cafe. It's like, hey, can I rent your monitor? And they're like, what, you want to rent my monitor? It's like, I'll pay you. I don't know. I'll pay you what the monitor costs. I'll give you the $100 now, and just like let me use it for 3 or 4 days, and I'll return it. And they're like, deal, done. So I gave him the money just to buy the thing, and I returned it. And then he gave me like $60 back. I'm like, he's like, you don't pay, you brought it back $40. I'm like, okay, cool. And so, but like, that was like my life was like traveling around with my big form factor computer and just doing LAN parties everywhere. And so a lot of people, when they trained in Quake back in the day, they all trained online. I did not. I was very much, I had a dedicated server that people would join. I would always play on LAN because I was always want to practice and train what it's like in a tournament. So I would never want to play with any kind of lag or any kind of whatever, because that's not realistic of what the tournament is going to feel like. And the thing is, the amount of damage, the amount of like precision and everything you can do on LAN versus playing online is ridiculously more. And one of the coolest things about LAN parties, I always thought, was the camaraderie, hanging out with the guys, right? But it was also just like getting that time and chance to talk about the game in person. Yeah, we can talk on Discord and we could talk on the internet and so forth, but it's still virtual. Like, I get a feeling for who you are and so forth, but I haven't seen you with the cameras off. I haven't seen you like in your relaxed state. And so these are all the things that LAN parties do. They really connect you much deeper with a person. And I think this was what I always said, but you learn 10 times more on LAN than you'll ever online. Like, you'll learn way more. And so I remember just sitting with my friends, like, I didn't know forever that the rocket launcher in the game called Painkiller, that when it splashed damage, like when you barely hit the guy with a rocket, in Quake, if you did that, it would do like 3 damage, right? In Painkiller, it did 50 damage. I had no idea that one zing sound. So like, and that's what I found out by going to LAN parties, like this one little detail. And we're just sitting around talking after lunch or whatever deal is, and that was the deal. But yeah, LAN parties are the best.
Yeah. I remember. You're like yelling at people on the other side of the room. You're throwing shit at them. I remember we did one in like this little shared event center. The other side of the wall, they were doing a quinceañera. And so it was like Tejano music so loud that we were having to scream at each other so you could hear each other. It was so hilarious. It's just, yeah, all these just weird opportunities to meet all of these new people. And like, I still have people that I've met that like I keep up with those things. You know, it's like because I've noticed for a certain kind of person, like I'm kind of a weird dude, like nerd, like computer guy. I've been in IT for my whole life. Finding people like me out in the wild is pretty difficult. You know what I mean? And so I would say that's like a target-rich environment for finding your kind of people. And I remember going to QuakeCon and just being overwhelmed when you went into like the big conference area that was, I mean, just size of a football field, and it's nothing but desks and computers just lined up. I'd never seen anything like it. And does anything like that even still exist? Is it still?
Yeah, I mean, QuakeCon still, I think they're still doing their events again. So I think they have, 1,000-person LAN party and so forth.
Yeah, that's wild.
I think DreamHack was doing something as well for like a little LAN party as well in the US. Um, yeah, but like I haven't been, I mean, I have my setup here, so I had obviously Machiavelli over here, and having my little LAN party at my place. So I have, 3 systems set up that you could play here at any time. And so I try to make it more boutique, like just come over and hang out. Like I got the systems, just come over and hang out and play. And so, yeah, he came down and we got some Quake in, and we got some good, bro time in, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, he was my arch rival back in the day.
Did
Yeah,
you actually, did you dislike him back in the day? Did it go that deep?
no, he was always charming. He was also kind of like a charmer. Like he liked to shit talk and so
Yeah.
forth. But I always knew that deep down he's like a softie. Like, he's not. He has charisma, and so he has the Riz, and so he was always very fierce competitor. He was always there at the finals, and and I it seemed like I always ran into him. Like in every tournament we ever played, when we went to Sweden, I ran into him. I took first, he took second. When we went to CPL Summer, I take first, he takes second. We played it. We were going to play a qualifier in 2002. Like it was so crazy how much that the world wanted us to collide, and so he was one of my first rivals.
Do you feel like the gaming world was a lot smaller back then?
I say in the 90s it was pretty small niche world. But when Quake 3 came out, it was on the world stage at that point. Quake 3, because like I was talking to Machiavelli about this. Like you realize like the CPL Summer in 2000, the $100,000 tournament, that was probably the biggest international Quake tournament ever held.
Hmm.
Like it was the beginning of like everything. Like, just because before it was always region based, like, oh, it's the best players in the West Coast, oh, it's the best players in Europe, and so it's always like separated. So for me, it was like finally we get all the best players in one room. And so that was a very exciting for me. And I was a fan of a lot of the European players and obviously some of the American players as well. So to get to meet them in person and like, man, like I watched all your demos from Quake 1, because like, I played my whole life. Like I just didn't have the access to go to the tournaments. And so eventually when I saved up $500, went to my very first Quake 3 tournament there in Dallas and won the $4,000. I was like, okay, I'm in the game now. And so yeah, so it was a long journey of winning tournaments in my region, but I never thought I was the best player in the world until I did it.
I mean, I guess that's what everybody says, right? You don't know until you've got it on a piece of paper. You got the proof. If you know what I noticed too is like, it's one thing to get hyper focused on one thing. Like we're talking about Quake 3 a lot. Like you become the best in Quake 3 doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to other things, but you were like cross discipline. You did like Alien versus Predator 2, Quake 3, Painkiller, I think Unreal Tournament. So I'm sure there was others too, right?
Yeah, Doom 3 as well. But yeah, all the like I think that was just the evolution of esports and gaming is that when Quake 3 didn't have any more significant prize pool, I had to move and change out to other games.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
And then Unreal Tournament was actually when I got featured on MTV. And so it was it was like a 4-month documentary they did on myself and 3 others. And it basically showed it showed my life of like trying to win another championship. And then it showed these other guys who played like, I don't know, Golden Tee, They played like some console games, and then the fourth guy was like a guy that was like a legend from the like the Pac-Man days. And so anyways, we had all of our different lifestyles, but I was like the esports division of the MTV special, and yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought, but
Yeah, no worries. And I'm curious about that special. Do you feel like that was like a turning point from you? Do you remember like the before and then the after fatality? Did it seem different?
oh yeah, so yeah, that was like well, so the whole point of that documentary was like showing the life of an esports professional, and then honestly, I was switching games. So if you remember back in the day, it was Quake versus Unreal players. There was like a community separation. Oh, you're an Unreal player or you're a Quake player?
Yeah, it's like the
And
Dota and League of Legends guys.
exactly. And so there's always like this debate of like, are Quake players better than Unreal players or Unreal players better than Quake players? So it was kind of like just like it was like a little chicken, it was just having a little fun. And so playing Unreal Tournament, I found out very fast I was not the best at Unreal Tournament, really quick, because I'm going into a new playing field. It's like, when you go from one game to another game, a lot of people can't really swallow it, but you have to realize you suck again. And I was very good at realizing that I am not that good at this game, and I have to put the work in again. And so I put on a tournament. I got on MTV. I ended up training for 2 months. And I ended up winning the tournament. So I won the championship in all tournament. I was beside myself. I couldn't believe I did it. But like I did all the training. I knew I was the best version of myself when I got there because I know I did all the work. So when I went to the tournament, I was like, hey, if I don't win, I know I gave it everything. And so I was always confident in my abilities. Like, hey, I did everything I could to be ready for this moment. And so if that's not enough, then that's not enough. And so I was always really confident in my like practice regiment, like of just like practice, practice, practice. And that was kind of like my famous quote on MTV. But the MTV thing definitely gave me an immense amount of popularity, like kind of in the pop culture world. Um, it was crazy. I was on TRL, I was on I mean, 50 Cent knew who I was. Like just it was crazy. I mean, like Dead Mouse, all these people like knows of Fatality. I mean, Joe Rogan, like all these people, were following my story to some degree, and it was just kind of shocking. I didn't really know. I didn't even know I was famous for a while. Um, so it was just like I was just doing my thing. I was training, I was practicing, I was in my own world, and just going to these tournaments. And then one of my friends told me, you realize we all talk about you when you're not in the room, right? And I'm like, no. Like, why would you guys talk about me? And so I was like, I was very like naive. I was just like, I was just doing my passion and I was winning. And I didn't really have time to even look at what I've already accomplished because I was just constantly doing all the time. And, but yeah, the MTV thing launched my business. It launched me into like kind of the pop culture world. That True Life was top three of all True Lives ever recorded. It re-aired for well over a decade. And so that was kind of the turning point. But there was still a lot of work to be done after that. My goal was always to not be a flash in the pan, because like that was kind of the whole point of playing Unreal Tournament and Doom and AVP2 and all these other games, Painkiller. And the reason why is because I wanted to be the best FPS player in the world. And so I don't want to be considered just the best Quake player in the world. I feel like it's too niche. Still being World Champion Quake is no joke.
Yeah, no
Like
small feat.
if you ever become a champion of Quake, you are an absolute god. Like you are a champion. I mean, you look at Rafa, Kilson, Cypher, Cooler, 04, Thresh, like all these people, right? They're all gods in their own right. And so I always have a lot of admiration for people that become a Quake champion because I believe that's like the beginning of esports, and that's the beginning of like 1v1 deathmatch, like legacy.
Have you ever contemplated the fact that you're abnormal? Like you're the things you have accomplished. Boy, here's where I'm getting at. It sounds like you just have this mentality of this is what I do. This is how I do it. And so everything that comes along with it, you don't even really think about it. Like, have you thought about how unique and abnormal that experience is for like an average, muggle, like just a regular human that hasn't, well, probably, I'm sure there's some mix of your practice along with some natural reaction time and things like that are probably pretty good, right? You put all that together and it's made you. But have you ever thought about like this is abnormal? Like you've reached this height that most people don't. Like, do you ever reflect on that kind of thing?
Well, I think it's difficult position I'm in. I put myself in a very unique position. And so yeah, it's a constant thing that I kind of like battle with because it's like, I've accomplished a lot in my career, but like how do you be humble? How do you be like these are all the things that kind of go through my mind like cuz I remember when I was a kid I had like three rules. And so my three rules were, I want to travel overseas to play a video game. I think it'd be cool. I was like literally like that's all I wanted as a kid before I when I was training, but I was like I didn't go to my very first tournament yet. These are just my dreams.
Mm.
I want to travel overseas to play a video game. I want to become number one in the world. I really do. And then the third thing, don't be an asshole. That was literally my three goals. Because like I always saw these people online that I always wanted to talk to when I was a kid, like when I was a teenager, and I couldn't talk to any of them. I couldn't get them in the chat room. I couldn't get their attention. I want to play with them or train with them or just I have a conversation with them. But it was like so hard, and they were so like egotistical and it was just so hard to get in touch with them. And so for me, doing all the things I've done and doing all the shows and so forth and spending time with fans and people that are interested in esports, I've always tried to give my time a lot. And I've given my whole life to esports. I mean, if you look at the full scope of like what I've done, I mean, it's been over 30 years now of just giving myself to esports. Obviously being the guy who, really pioneered like the possibility, like I can make a full-time living from this. But it's just like, it's my passion. So it's like, I plan on doing this forever. So like, I don't plan on ever stopping. Um, but yeah, I had something else I wanted to say, but yeah, that's kind of like the core of it.
I dig it, man. Like your line on "Don't be an asshole." That makes me think of at this place I was working one time. They said, "Hey, if you guys read these executive development books, we'll give you like a bonus." I was like, "Sure, I can do that." And what I've learned is if you incentivize people to read these things, you're going to learn something incidentally, whether you want to or not. You're going to learn some stuff. And I could distill all of those things down to, like you said, don't be an asshole. Number one, if you are an asshole, apologize. And number three, don't do it again. It's like most of it boils down to like those three simple rules.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think also the thing that was like kind of like, I mean, you say like I was kind of on autopilot and so forth, but there's actually an immense amount of pressure every time I played in a tournament because I thought the fate of esports was on my shoulders in the sense like if I become the failure, like then I proved to the world that they were right, that you can't make a living playing video games. And so my whole philosophy, like back in the day, like in the early days of Quake, like taking second was a death sentence. It was. Your career would almost be over like instantly. It was nuts.
That's
like
crazy.
If you did not win, you did not get on TV. If you do not win, you don't get the magazine post. If you don't win, you don't get invited to the next tournament from the sponsor or whatever the deal is, right? Like there's all these like little catalysts where if this does not happen, it could be the end. And so I had so many of those, and it was overwhelmingly like I had so much pressure on my shoulders at all times. Even when I launched my business and like I launched my business on MTV and so forth, like it was just perfect timing there. But like as time went on, the $1 Million World Tour happened in '05 for Painkiller. I was launching my business on a world level. I was launching it in every continent in the world. I mean, you go to Russia, China, Sweden, Finland, Germany, like anywhere you go to over 100 countries, I have product on the shelf. And so when I was launching my business, I was like, man, I really got to freaking win one of these because I'm being featured on 60 Minutes. And then I end up winning the summer event, and then I end up winning the freaking grand final. And that was like the sweetest, most purest moment in my life. Like it was by far the best moment in my life. Like not even close. Like winning the $1 Million World Tour was like it was like my final stamp on like my life and my story and my passion for esports. And that was like my 12th like major world championship. And but that was like the kind of nail in the coffin that really kind of set me up for, not being forgotten, not being a footnote in esports. My goal was to always like leave like something that people will never forget.
Hmm.
And in every game I played, that was like kind of my philosophy. Like in the early days of Quake, I always wanted to do something with a little flair. And so I'm not sure if you remember some of the rocket jumps I used to do, but I used to do these double rocket jumps out of the lava pit. And I always try to do like something a little special for the fans. But I try to make it entertaining and fun and have a good time with it. But yeah, the pressure in the early days of esports, there was no one thinking you could do it for a living. I mean, I can't tell you how many interviews I've done where people are just like, it's not going to work out. This is great right now, but what are you going to do after? There's always that. Like, you know, even in Europe, like I remember going to Germany and just having this lady in the bus telling me like, she's like doing like little notes and she's interviewing me and she's like, oh man, like it must be so lame to play video games. Like, like or whatever, right? It was just like it was so weird. And I was like, it's like, man, imagine like and then obviously I'm like a little internally like a little bit upset, right? And then I was like, man, it just must be horrible to like be in the bus, all these guys writing on a piece of paper with a pencil. Like, man, that's like so like kindergarten.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like,
well,
just like, I'm just trying to stab her back a little bit, 'cause he's like, she's picking at something I care very much about.
yeah. Well, it's interesting too. Like somebody from that perspective, would you walk up to one of the most accomplished concert violinists and tell him, "Oh, it really must be lame to like play an instrument for a living, just in front of people, just do a few things." It's like, no, man. It's been a lifetime of work, effort, and actual just grind with immense pressure every time you have to do one of these performances to make this most beautiful music. And in your case, win, decisively in all of these different categories. It's like, no, man, how would that be lame? You know what I mean? Like it's funny how people can't always, I guess, put themselves in somebody else's shoes, right? Like look through somebody else's eyes.
It's just like, I mean, I'm always like, there needs to be less hate out there.
For sure.
So it's just like, but yeah, it is what it is. But like, this is like, remember, this was like year 2000. I mean, this was like the beginning of all of it. And so I took on the responsibility to try to, show esports in the best light and show that you can make a living from it. And and now look how big esports is now. Yeah. I mean, it's saying how much money this, 60, $70 million purse prizes at some of these events. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah. And what's crazy to me too is thinking about being in my early 20s, seeing as though we're like roughly the same age, being in my early 20s or being a late teenager, early 20s, and I've got that amount of pressure on me. I don't know how do you suppress that? Because I know in some of it, I can't remember which one, but in one of these tournaments where you got first, you came back through the loser's bracket and you had to basically win back to back to get it done. And you did, and to push through, to have that amount of pressure on you, but still to maintain whatever it takes to lock in. Because like I was just watching you like in your Machiavelli and you're like when the two of you were just playing together in a couple of those rounds, you were so locked in with a railgun. Like it was imperceptible for me to see how you even made some of these shots because you would twitch, shoot, and then twitch back so fast that like the video couldn't even necessarily capture it. But you would hear the hit. You'd hear the little boop, the little chord hit.
Pops at night.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, dude, there was a couple where you were just popping off. It was absolutely wild. And so I just like to be in a moment, in a situation where you have to be able to do such precise things. Like, how do you? It's to me, it's like being like an emergency room doctor, and there's been like a mass casualty, and you've got hundreds of people coming in. You know what I mean? It's like how do you control all that? How do you pull it all in when you're 19 years old? Like that's what really gets me. Like how does somebody that young have the ability to control themselves.
I mean, I think a lot of that, like, what I was kind of like the quick answer, I guess, to some degree, but um, you know, I was always fascinated by people that go to tournaments and they would change their sensitivity when they got to the tournament. You ever done that? Like where you go like, oh, you know what? It feels a little slow today, or it feels faster. I need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
change.
Let me tweak it a little bit.
No, like you trained for like this immense amount of time before the event, and you're going to start changing settings the day of the event. It makes zero sense. And so, I always give a lot of credit to my practice. That my practice allows me to be the best version of myself when I arrive. Why would I change anything before the tournament? Even though it does happen where, oh, it does feel a little different. Oh, why is that? Is it because we're on an AMD processor instead of an Intel? Is it because we're on, or vice versa? Or is it, is these computers just not as powerful as my rig at home? There's a lot of discomfort that comes like going to a LAN tournament. So what I did was I would start doing research and find out what the tournament specs are for the tournament, and then I would buy the machine. So I'd buy the exact same machine, like close to it, not the exact, but I'd buy the same processor and then I would work around that. And so I would train on that system to make it feel like I'm playing on the system or and the tournament machine at home. And so that was kind of like how I approached it. But the practice was like, when you did all that work and all that training before the tournament, I mean, you show up at the tournament, you're not changing anything. You're trying to go for it. So it always amazed me people that would change their stuff right before the tournament.
Yeah, that reminds me of I heard this guy talking one time. He was telling the story about how he played a pro-am golf tournament. Where you got a professional and an amateur, and he said he showed up like an hour early, and he's out on the driving range and he's hitting, and his pro walks by and he's like, "Oh, hey, do you want to pull up next to me and hit a few balls?" He's like, "Nah." And the guy was like, "You seriously? Like you don't want to?" He goes, "If you didn't bring it with you, you're not going to find it here." And I've always thought of like that's always lived in the back of my head. It's like, yeah, because you fall back on your highest level of practice, right? You're not going to magically rise to the occasion and something
Yeah.
miraculous will happen, right? It's like you have to have that level of practice so high.
Yeah. I mean, some people do spike at certain times, but it's very rare, and it's such like it comes and goes super fast.
Yeah, yeah. But you can't rely on that. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, you can't rely on it for sure. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I used to have all these rules of like engagement, like I never go to this portal with my body directly in front of the portal. I always go off to a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. And like, and I used to tell my friend Rick, he was a world champion Quake 2 player. And I remember him asking me, it's like, oh, I have rules of engagement. What are you talking about rules of engagement? It's like, well, these are my rules. Like these things have to be met to engage. And if they're met, then I engage. If they're not met, I don't engage. Like, and then basically when I go down this hallway, I always walk on this path because this path is the least likely to be shot at randomly. You know, I want to make sure that the person has moved their crosshair a little bit to hit me. So that I'm adding, 200 or 300 milliseconds of input lag to my opponent because he has to remove his mouse. Then he might make a mistake. He might just miss me altogether or whatever deal is, and then I'm up like a full second on the guy on shooting him. So the surprise is a big factor of all of the gaming I've done. You try to surprise him. In Quake, you could be sneaky. It was a fun game.
Yeah. I mean that reminds me a lot of sports that so I'm an old man and I play pickleball, right? But I play what I like to think is fairly high level pickleball. Pretty high rated when it comes to that. And I've learned that a lot of what you do is just memorize patterns because we all move in patterns. If I hit on this certain angle, most likely it's going to return on this angle. So I need to be prepared to, complete over here. And so the more I practice, I practice literally every day. I'll do wall drills for like 15 minutes. But
Oh, wow.
in that I do, like you said, man, you got to put in the reps. Like you got to bake that muscle memory in. But a lot of it too is memorizing patterns, just pattern, pattern, pattern. And it's so funny that when you actually get there and your brain turns off and you're just following patterns. Occasionally there's something you'll get somebody who just does crazy stuff, but for the most part, you can just dial in.
Yeah, and that's like sizing up your opponent. So like, in Quake and other games, I would size up my opponents like, does he like the railgun? Does he like the lightning gun? Does he like the rocket launcher? What is his favorite weapon? Okay, can I take that away from him? And I want him not to get the railgun as much as possible. So I'm gonna do everything I can to so he can't have it. And then in pickleball, for example, you're playing against a guy and you hit to his backhand, he might only have 2 shots from that backhand, but a better player would have maybe 4 shots.
Hmm.
So the thing is, like, you're sizing up your opponent all the time. Just imagine if you're in like a mixed martial arts fight, the guy's really good at boxing or kicking or grappling. You're like, well, I don't want to grapple this guy because he'll choke me out probably, and so let's keep him as far away as possible, as long as possible, and try to win a different way. And so I think in pickleball, for example, that you're playing, is that I was team captain of my tennis team in high school, so I have a lot of paddle experience. But I played pickleball. But I played another sport called padel. I like that a little more. But but yeah, you learn what your opponent can do. Can he hit the shot down the line? Does he have that in him, or does he not? If he doesn't, then I can play more center of the court, and I can cover more of the more more likely where he's going to hit it. And so it's always fascinating to like kind of like dive into someone's head. And I think that's kind of like the secret of, esports to some degree and competitive gaming. But I think it's just in competitive anything, in pickleball and basketball. It's about like knowing that he knows what your tendencies are and then executing the optimal one to get him off balance or whatever it is. Right. And so, and eventually, if you do it enough and you guess right enough, you will piss this guy off. Oh, so that was kind of like what I was trying to do to some degree in the games. Like I would try to irritate my opponent sometimes. And I think you referenced the one comeback. I've had multiple comebacks from the lower bracket, but the one that I think you're mentioning is the $1 Million World Tour. It was actually my 12th championship against Vu. And he for I played against him for a long time, probably 16, 18 months. I mean, we had a long history of like battles,
Hmm.
and he had the best movement in the game. Like he moved through the game so flawlessly all the time. I eventually got there to his level, but like I had to get on his level because he was that fast. And it annoyed the hell out of me. Cause I'll be winning the fight and then he run away. Win the fight, running away. Winning the fight, running away. I'm like, God, I just can't catch this guy because I can't get the final blow on him because it's just like it's just he's just so fast. And so I think so in the championship I decide, I mean, this is for the $1 million. Like I'm like, you know what? I'm getting my revenge today. So I run for him for like 15 minutes. And we didn't have the first kill until 9 minutes into the game. And he killed me, and then he fell to his death. So the score is still 0-0 after like almost 10 minutes of gameplay. And the game's only 15 minutes long. And then we go into overtime, 4-4. And then at that moment, I was like, you know what? 15 minutes of me being like completely defensive, I don't think he would expect it if I went absolutely nutty, super aggressive, crazy on him. So I did it. So I decided like, you know what? This is my moment. I'm going in. I'm going for it. I'm going to try to surprise him. And I surprised him at the gold armor. I land 7 shots and he hits 0.
Hmm.
And then I take the lead. I kill him some more times and I win in overtime. And so that was kind of like my moment of like trying to irritate my opponent because I think it kind of irritates him a little bit. And I think that's what you're trying to find in any sport you're playing competitively. You're trying to find a person's weakness and you're trying to attack it as much as you can. And then eventually, if you can guess right a lot of times, even though he's there for you, and then you do the opposite, that's when he's going to lose it probably. But I don't know, that was kind of like how I approached it.
That's interesting. So the way you're talking about this, it's almost, can you see it? Can you still see it in your head? Like that moment where
Oh yeah,
you can still see the highlights. They're still locked in there.
yeah. I know exactly what happened. I can remember. Like so many parts of that battle. It's like baked in my mind.
You know what's funny is like a lot of chess grandmasters can literally remember entire games. They can remember their movement as well as their opponent's movement from games that were like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I can do some of the games even like, from the very beginning for like, from 1999. I remember this one game. I almost lost this guy. I won like 9-8, 9-7. I broke my headphones after the game. And I was actually pissed off because I kind of like was overdosed on caffeine. And that's when I realized that drinking too much caffeine could be bad for you.
Oh yeah.
And so I didn't know that uh, at 18 years old.
Yeah.
And so I remember I went to the water fountain and just flushed my body out. I drank as much water as I possibly could to flush out everything. Just I need to get all this caffeine out of my body. And then I went to go play my next game, and all of a sudden, oh, okay, now I'm back. Like I'm back to myself again because I was jittering, I was shaking. I had like this, my whole body was like wigging out, and it was like, man, like I haven't had this feeling since I was like 12 years old, and so it was just like the caffeine was doing it, and so that was what, I did a lot of A/B testing on myself just to, like find out how I could perform the best and all this stuff, but a lot of it came from like just doing it and then realizing it.
Mm. Professional. Perfectionist. Do you find yourself to be something of a perfectionist?
I think in esports you can't be a perfectionist. I think it becomes predictable. So you need to operate almost perfectly, and then you need to be wild at the right times.
Well, it
So
almost sounds like jazz. There's a lot of improvisation, but it's done expertly, right?
yeah, so like what I would do is like sometimes ABC is enough to beat the top eight. Outside the top eight players in the world, you can play ABC all day. I can be a perfectionist and beat them all. But if I want to beat the top three guys in the world, I need to do ABC, but I need to do it in a different order. I need to do ACB and then ABC, then ABC, then ABCD, then DE, then ABA, ABC. Like it's like there's a constant like a rhythm to the fight, and you have to make sure that your opponent can never predict you because I got very good at like the reason why I invited like different people to my training facility. I invited offensive guys, defensive guys, strategic guys, badasses, crazy people. Like I invited all of them, right? And it was so fascinating because they all died in different places. They would just die in different places all the time. So I was like, oh, a strategic guy always dies at the power ups or the armor. Always. It's like crazy. It's like clockwork. They never are ever like engaging or risking anything unless it's for an item. Okay. That's how strategy people roll. So now I know how to kill strategy people. A defensive guy, he'll just die to attrition. All I have to do is guess right one time, like a route or whatever, and I catch him off guard. He's gonna have no health because he's dying to attrition. He's too defensive. An offensive guy can die literally anywhere. That's the beauty of playing against the offensive guys. Like it gives you a lot of windows of opportunity to get the kill. And then we play against a crazy guy. Oh my gosh! Like I played this guy from Finland named Isaki. I called him ice hockey, this guy was nuts, and he would kill me. And I'm like, oh my gosh! Like, why would you ever do that move? That's the most idiotic move I've ever seen in my life. But he killed me. I'm like, wow, you know what? That's good to know because now I know when I play against one of the top three players in the world, they might do this to me. And so you start to learn, like, all the possibilities, all the weird things that could happen in the game. And then, you just try to kind of adapt to it. So I was very good at detecting when a top player would change his moves or his thoughts or whatever. I'm like, oh, he's going passive. Oh, so he's going defensive. Oh, where's the defensive guy at die at? Oh, he's in die to attrition. Okay, so then I got to do this. But then, oh, now he's going to go strategic because the minutes passed. Now he's going to try to become the strategic player. And then, oh, he's in die at the mega health. And so these are the spots I would be planning for like a minute out or 40 seconds out or whatever it was. I'm like, I can't wait to see him in 40 seconds. And so like, and so that was kind of like how I approached the game. And then there was actually some really smart players, and I was always amazed by them, but they were very good at controlling the ammo. And I was like, wow, this guy is smart. He knows. I would never tell them that they know. Like I know that they know, and I don't know if they know I know, but uh, so I would literally just like throw rockets or grenades at a certain area where the ammo was. If I couldn't get to it in the time it was going to spawn, I'd already having rockets go there, and he would not even be on the screen, and all of a sudden, in one split second, he comes flying around the corner, grabbing the ammo. He's there for literally like a fraction of a second, but I'm shooting so many rockets in that area that he runs into my rocket, and then like, oh, well, that worked out perfect for me because now, yeah, he has the ammo, but I got one shot in. Like, I can't wait to see him again really soon, hopefully. So that's kind of like the high level of like what's going on.
Yeah, dude, I love the minutia of how those things operate. And I think a lot of people probably just focus on, oh, you're probably just practicing your accuracy or your movement and things like that. They don't realize how much you're putting into strategy and really just almost it almost sounds like the kind of the psychology of the game, like whatever game you're playing, like how this characteristic equals this outcome. I think, at least me, I've done that a lot with people. Like, oh, this event happens, this is their reaction. Like, I've had to kind of build this catalog of how people typically react to things like that. It makes me wonder, like, does that mentality bleed into other parts of your life? Like this determining strategy, this seeing people operate and like doing all these patterns and things like that. I know it has for me at least.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, you can use it in any way you want. It's like telling a joke. Like, how do you tell the joke the right way that makes people laugh? If you say it in this way, it doesn't really work that well. So, like, I gotta change the joke up a little bit. I gotta use a different phrase. I gotta work on my timing or whatever, right? And so then you figure out what is the perfect solution to getting the outcome that you want. And so, yeah, it can be used on basically anything. But I was really good at using it in video games.
Mm, I dig it, man. Well, I'll tell you what, dude, you've been super generous with your time. I want to be very respectful of it. So I know we're coming up pretty close to the end here. So I wanted to, one, say, is there anything you want to promote? Bop that out. But also just kind of curious, like looking to the future, like what are you excited about, man? Like what are you what are you looking forward to?
I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is, I mean, I love playing games and esports and all that stuff. I'm actually looking to build a new system right now, so I'm really excited about building a new rig to land even more railgun shots for you. Uh, and so, but yeah, I think in all seriousness, I mean, I'm always trying to find ways to be a part of like, the next generation of esports. So for me, I'm always trying to find ways to be involved in that some capacity there. Being a Hall of Famer, lifetime achievement winner, all these things is great. But it's just constantly like I want to constantly be touching and doing something in that space. And so for me, that's my passion. I have a boutique builder here in Las Vegas that we're gonna make my system. So we're gonna do a custom rig and so forth. So my goal is to eventually start, selling some new rigs for people and so forth, like building them like custom, like Fatality and Builder build you a rig. And then after that, I think, you know, there's rumor about Quake 5 coming out. And so that's just a rumor. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
right.
Quake 5 would be very, very interesting. I've also thought about making my own games as well. But it's just, there's just a balance of like finding the right people, the right team, and finding the right opportunity. Because it's no cheap task to create a game. But like I'm looking more like the arena style stuff, like what we had in Quake 3 and so forth. So that's what I miss. I miss the high level skill play and so forth like that. But I don't know. I'm a big nerd for hardware. I love hardware. I love products. Um, I love live streaming to kind of like give people a glimpse of we can still do this, and I can't wait to get my new rig because there's going to be a massive upgrade for my performance.
That's dope, dude. Well, I tell you what, man, it sounds like you almost have this mentality of esports has given you so much and you're trying to give back to it. And I think that's so cool because you obviously still have a passion, you still have love, you still have a it sounds like a permanent part in your heart for it. And I think that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
For
Yeah,
sure.
it's yeah, it's a love and joy, man. It's just like you never can get enough of it. Like I don't know, I love the like you said, like I love competing and I love doing the whole thing. So I really appreciate you having me on the show. And if people want to come and check me out, I'm just I'm Fatality on X and Twitch and YouTube and all that stuff. It's Fatal1ty. And I practice a lot. You gotta practice.
Practice. All right, man. That's a good spot to hit stop on. Appreciate you.
Thank you.